Hi, I'm Jan, and I've had sleepingbaby.net since about 2000 when my son was born, and today I'm going to show you how to make a sling without any sewing. The most important part of this is the rings. These are rings from slingrings.com. They're manufactured specifically for use in making baby slings. They're pretty much the industry standard for rings. If you don't have time to order from them, you can run to the hardware store and pick up some chrome rings. They're typically going to look like this. These are a lot heavier than sling rings, but as long as they're fairly thick, and these are about 1/4 of an inch thick, they're generally going to be safe. You do want to watch out for this weld. Welded rings are fine as long as they don't have a really sharp burr on them, because that's going to dig into your fabric and it might tear it. So you can go to Home Depot or your local hardware store and pick up some of those. Just don't go to the craft store and buy craft rings. Those are really, really thin. They're not meant to be weight bearing. They are certainly not going to hold the weight of your child. So just make sure that you have safe rings when you do this. And of course, the second thing that you need is some fabric. This is a pashmina type shawl. I think it was bought on eBay, but this time of year in the fall you can find a lot of these at any department store. You want it to be fairly sturdy. You can kind of see through this one, but it's still very strong. It's not going to tear easily. Just stay away from really lightweight stuff like gauze or like an organza, which you can really see through. You don't want to use something like that to carry your baby in any case, and certainly not for a no-sew sling either. So I've got rings of 2 different colors for clarity. I'm going to make it so that the pink one is the one that's showing at the end, just for clarity. So the first thing we're going to do is take one end of the fabric, and I've got it sort of bunched up. I'm going to put it through both rings. And I've already done this wrong. I'm going to put it through both rings, and then, like I'm doing a ribbon belt, I'm just going to thread it over this silver one and under the pink one. So now I've got something that looks like this. And I think it's a really, like a lot of videos won't show this, but a really good step is to make sure that your fabric is spread out in the rings before you go any further. If it's all bunched up like this, it's actually forcing the rings apart, and that's going to make it more likely to slip, and you don't want it to slip, especially when you're wearing it with baby. So I'm just going to find one edge, and I'm going to kind of pull it out. Do that slowly so it doesn't blur. And then when I'm done, see how nicely that's kind of gathered through like that? I'm going to take this piece that I've got under here, and you want that to be between 10 and 12 inches long. I'm just going to pull that pretty snug. A nice little trick, actually, if you have a thin enough fabric, is to pull the longer one through again. That makes it very tight. You need larger rings for that, but that is absolutely not going anywhere. I find that too hard to deal with, so I'm going to unthread that part. You would do that if you had a very thin fabric, like more like a thin tablecloth, which is certainly fine to use for this. So, and then I managed to unthread my whole thing when I was doing that, so let's do that again. I don't usually make videos, maybe you can tell. Alright, so I'm going to gather this through again. And if you're following along at home, maybe this helps. Okay. So I've got my fabric threaded through. And this little flappy bit here, this shorter part, that's the part that's going to be against your shoulder when you're wearing it. So let's just do that now. I'm going to bring this around, and I just want to make sure, you can do this in a mirror, I want to make sure that the flappy bit is completely under the longer bit. And that will both hide the flappy bit and make it a little bit more padded on your shoulder and keep it secure. So the next thing I want to do, see my baby wearing t-shirt? I'm going to make sure that it's not twisted on the back. So I'm holding on to the top rail right now. That's the top edge. I'm going to bring that around from the back. And then just bring this up again through both rings, just like I did the first time. And again, I've got my top edge here. I'm making sure that my top edge stays on top when I thread it through this bottom ring. So again, I'm going over this top one and under the bottom one. And then we'll pull this whole tail through. Now you can see where the length of the fabric can be an issue if you're not small or petite. I'm ending up with a very, very short tail. It would be safe as long as I'm keeping an eye on it. I just want to make sure that it doesn't slip out while I'm wearing my baby. So here it is threaded, and it's spread out on this ring so it's not forcing them apart. And I'm going to grab my stuffed baby. Poor mangy stuffed baby has seen better days, but she'll do. So I've got my baby, I'm going to put her on my shoulder, and this is the same way that you would wear an infant in any sling. I've got the sling fairly tight. This is a pretty, it's a material with a lot of give, as we say in the industry. It has a lot of horizontal, a lot of diagonal sort of stretch to it. It's not actually stretchy, but it'll give in that diagonal direction. So I'm just going to slide her into the pouch of my sling, and her legs are inside, and they're kind of, I've got a little bit of a ledge of fabric underneath her legs to keep her from falling out, although if it's threaded well, she's not going to fall out. And then I've got a little bit of slack here on the top. I'm just going to pull that around from my back and then pull on that upper rail until she's really snug against me. This is the hold that I like best for newborns. They're nice and close to your neck. If you were carrying a baby in your arms, this is the way you would have them. They'd be nice and close, like under your chin. You can feel them breathing. You can see their face. The thing that you don't want is a really slumpy baby, like hidden down in here with their head squished forward. That's something you don't want when you're carrying a baby, when they're in a car seat, and especially when they're in a sling. So hopefully that is helpful. And there's my finished sling. If I were a size 2, I would have a much longer tail here. But even with a 72-inch piece of fabric, this is plenty to have a safe and comfortable carry. Thanks!